What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Player ratings for the 2-0 loss against Aston Villa at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday. And let's get straight into it, starting with Hugo Lloris. Threes all round from us. First half pretty much had nothing to do, was pretty much a spectator throughout the game. First time he was called into action and he just completely parried the ball away into Watkins' path and we went go 1-0 down. And yeah, I mean, he wasn't really called upon apart from that. He couldn't really do anything with the second goal, and poor display.
Yeah, I mean, the first goal, yeah, that's what we're marking him down for, let's be honest. It was absolutely atrocious. It's a horrendous mistake to spill the ball like that for a shot which should easily be parried. But he did spill it, and the defenders weren't quick enough to react, and we conceded the first goal, which was very, very detrimental. Second goal, I don't think he was completely to blame, but I don't think he covered himself in any glory as well. It was very central, the finish, and I guess if he stood up, he maybe could have saved it, but it wasn't totally his fault. But first goal, totally his fault. But other than that, didn't have too much to do.
Yeah. Let's move on to Cuti Romero, sixes all round, most definitely our best player on the day. I think maybe he could have got there quicker when Lloris did spill it, but apart from that, he was the one really trying to stand up for the team, aggressive challenges. When he did get booked, I don't think it was a warranted booking, but he definitely should have got booked throughout the game anyway, so it probably evened itself out. But I thought it was a really good display for the most part for Cuti, and he was the only one really trying to put any effort in.
Yeah, it was good to have him back. I thought there are a few times when he was part of the back three and he was caught out of position a couple of times. But I thought his front foot play and his ability to be proactive was very, very good. I thought the booking was harsh at the time, but he also flew, as you say, a few other tackles throughout the game, which he didn't get booked for, and maybe it evens itself out. But a positive return, and it definitely much needed in our back three.
Yeah, and I felt like as well with Romero in the second half, he was also one that was trying to force the issue, trying to push the team up forward, trying to get forward and create something. But a lot of players weren't really on the same wavelength with him. But we move on to Clement Longley. 5 all round for Longley, and I did think he defended well for the most part, but what sticks in my mind is when Watkins completely bullied him at 2-0 down, and it really should have been 3-0 and game set and match, even though it was game set and match before then. But yeah, I think Longley probably, I was more happy with his display at Brentford, but still, he wasn't the worst out of what we saw yesterday.
I like Longley. I think he can be quite a good proactive defender who likes to intercept the ball and likes to get in front of attackers. But I do find in one-on-one situations he can be found wanting, and it's happened a few times. And it happened a few times against Aston Villa, especially up against Ollie Watkins. It happened in the first half where Watkins was able to get in behind and he had to put a shot wide, and it happened in the second half as well when it was a really good opportunity for Villa to make it 3-0, and those couple of moments definitely stick in the mind. I thought his passing was all right, and he defended well on occasion, but on one-on-one situations he struggles a bit.
Let's move on to Ben Davis, a 5 all round from us, and you know, as well as Longley, as well as Romero, all three of them did get booked in that first half with me, which maybe did stifle them a bit in the second half. But I thought Davis pretty much dealt with the most that came his way down that side of the pitch, but I would have liked to see him get forward a bit more and really contribute to the team going forward, which we didn't really see yesterday.
I haven't seen the challenge again. I asked my Spurs WhatsApp group if the challenge was warranting the yellow, and one of them said he might have even been lucky not to get a red the way he landed on it, but haven't seen anything being made of it, so I can't really comment. I did feel like at times he was struggling against Leon Bailey, to be honest, especially in the second half, but by and large wasn't really massively tested. But I didn't think he provided too much going forward either, so I didn't give him a great mark.
Let's move on to right wing back Matt Doherty, 5s all round from us. And I mean, I thought maybe attacking wise he put in a better display than what maybe Emerson Royale has shown in the past. There was a few nice touches in there. Crossing, didn't really get many good crosses in the box. There was one really good challenge at the other end of the pitch. I think it was on Ollie Watkins, where it was probably a goal-saving challenge. But you want to see more from your right wing back. You want to see more from Matt Doherty to produce in the final third to really, you know, create chances for the team, and you're just not seeing that from him.
There was one moment in the first half where he actually linked up really well with Bryan Hill and got into the penalty area, and it was a good shot blocked by one of the Aston Villa defenders, and it looked like he was going to be in for maybe a good attacking game, but didn't really carry on in that same vein of form. Wasn't able to get into the box too many times. A number of times Perisic was able to get crosses in, but didn't really find him. And I didn't feel like, other than that moment, he did link up with Bryan Hill with any regularity. And that was disappointing. And at the end of the day, they found him on a few times on the right hand side. No, it didn't even bother crossing it in, let alone have good delivery. So was a bit ineffective.
Yeah, I mean, there are these moments that Doherty receives it on that right hand side and does a nice little touch to cut inside, but then he doesn't really do much after that, which is the problem. Let's move on to Yves Bissouma, starting again in that central midfield in that double pivot with Højbjerg. Sim gives him a 5, I gave him a 4. And look, I think he did get better as the game wore on, but kind of the team got worse as he got better. And look, I think with Bissouma, he gets breezed past way too many times, and the good moments in the game are few and far between from him. I mean, we see him putting in those challenges and stepping away from midfielders like we've seen him do for Brighton time and time again, but those moments are just literally odd moments in games, and he needs to influence games a lot more.
Yeah, overall, I was disappointed again with Bissouma, I have to say. He got booked again because the midfielder got wrong side of him and he had to bring him down. And that happened a few times in the second half where he was chasing shadows a bit and getting outnumbered in the middle. Did set up a chance for Perisic in the second half with a nice ball into the box, but to be honest, still a bit disappointed with his overall contributions. A couple of nice... there were a couple of nice moments where he was able to spin away from players, but again, unlike when he was with Brighton, not with much regularity, so more disappointment for the Bissouma.
Moving on to his midfield partner in Pierre-Emile Højbjerg, 4s all round from us. And look, he put himself about as he always does. A lot of challenges going in there in the middle of the park, a lot of interceptions. But ultimately, every time he won the ball back, he pretty much lost it. I thought his passing was absolutely atrocious yesterday. And that stopped us a lot within our rhythm yesterday. And unfortunately, I thought Højbjerg had a poor display.
Yeah, I agree. It was sloppy, one of his sloppy displays. And when he's like that, he can be a bit of a liability sometimes when on the ball. And I felt like a lot of the time he was like that yesterday. Wasn't able to influence the game in the final third like he has been doing frequently this season. So I was disappointed with Højbjerg as well.
Moving on to the left wing back, Ivan Perisic, 5s all round from us. I mean, he was seeing a lot of the ball. We were trying to try and get him to provide our crosses a lot of times yesterday, and he did put in a couple of decent crosses, but ultimately it just wasn't enough from Ivan Perisic. There was a few lovely crossfield balls to Matt Doherty as well, but ultimately it wasn't as good as what we've seen from him in the past, especially his performance against Brentford, and I want to see more from Ivan.
He probably was involved in our two best moments of the game. The first one where it was a really good through ball from Clement Lenglet through to Ivan Perisic, and he rounded the keeper, took a bit too far wide, was able to dig out the cross to Kane, and it was off the line. And then in the second half, Bissouma played a nice ball over to him, and he was able to take it under control in the box, but he fired it over. Those were probably our two best moments of the game. I thought he did see a lot of on the left-hand side, wasn't able to get past Ashley Young as much as I had hoped he would. I really thought he would have a beating in that one-on-one situation, but he didn't. And ultimately, when he was able to swing in crosses, they weren't of the quality we know Perisic is capable of. So, didn't give him a great mark either.
Bryan Hill in his first Premier League start, Sim gives him a 4, I gave him a 3, and you can't question his effort and desire, that's for sure, because he was running around a lot, getting on the ball quite a few times and trying to take it past players, but ultimately every time he got the ball, he got pushed off it, or he got, all the other player had to do was give a little blow and he was falling over onto the floor. And he's just, you can see why in that game yesterday why Conte doesn't really trust him and doesn't really want to use him too much, because when he's on the pitch in the Premier League, it just looks like he's a boy in a men's game, and that's what we saw yesterday.
Yeah, difficult for him to really impact the game when teams are sitting deep and he's asked to get close to them and outmuscle them and stuff, and it wasn't really doing that. Well, he did have a couple of nice moments where he was able to spin away from a couple of players and break into space, but either didn't have the searing pace to get into to break into the space, which would really hurt Aston Villa, or he didn't have strength to hold off his man and actually be effective. And as much as he did some nice things that looked good, he ultimately didn't really affect the game that much.
Moving on to Heung-min Son, threes all round from us, and unfortunately really bad display from Sonny yesterday. He wasn't impacting things anything positive yesterday, really. Every time he got the ball, it was either a heavy touch or a heavy pass. Lost the ball pretty much every time he got it. And when are we going to see the Sonny of old back? Because it's been a long time now. Pretty much the whole season now, he's been a shell of his former self, apart from that one cameo he had when he came off the bench against Leicester, where he scored that hat-trick. But another carbon copy display, unfortunately.
Yeah, another disappointing display for Heung-min Son. He took off his mask halfway through the first half when he lost the ball inside his own half and went tracking back and ended up winning it back and putting out for a throw, and he decided he had enough with the mask and he took it off, and it looked like maybe and that would maybe help unleash him, but unfortunately he was still quite weak on the ball. His corners as well were not very good yesterday, all into the front post, and again, wasn't really able to hurt Villa. He just seemed a yard off the pace yesterday.
Yeah, he did. And there was that one moment in the second half where Kane was in so much space. All he had to do was feed him through and he just overhit the pass. And that just basically summed up his whole game yesterday. But let's move on to the final player of the starting 11, which was Harry Kane. Threes all round from us and didn't touch the ball in the first 20 minutes of the game, which is absolutely atrocious for a man like Harry Kane, who likes to drop deep and impact the play. But he just got lost really high up the pitch yesterday and could not impact anything whatsoever. In the first half, he did have that chance that got saved off the line, and in the second half, he did find space where Sonny should have played him in through, but it's pretty much as good as it got for Kane yesterday.
Yeah, he was involved in those couple of moments where we had some quick combinations in and around the penalty area, nearly found a way through Villa, but it was the final pass was just a tiny bit off on both occasions, and Kane was unable to get through on goal. As you say, he had that header off the line, but it was always going to be difficult to generate the power on that header the way it came to him. Other than that, I thought he did a number of passes in behind which were very lazy, very much just looking for a ball in behind with not much direction. And I felt like he was really poor throughout the game, to be honest, not linking well with Son at all. And as you say, 20 minutes to touch the ball in the first half. That is really, really poor for Harry Kane, to be honest.
Substitute Ryan Sessegnon, who came on for Brian Hill, which moved Perisic over to the right. So Sessegnon took the left wing-back spot. And, I mean, I don't even remember seeing him. Sim gave him a 3, by the way. I gave him a 4. And I don't remember seeing him at all or do anything when he came on the pitch.
I do. I remember him being terrible. I thought he was absolutely awful when he came on. He was really frustrating me. He had a couple of times he was able to get the ball and maybe try and run the opposition or do something. Kept running into players and giving away corners as well unnecessarily. So I wasn't happy with him.
Which moves us on to the manager, Antonio Conte. Sim gives him a 5. I gave him a 4. And it's just the same story pretty much week in, week out at the moment. Not conceding the first goal for now the last 7 games, I think it is. Conte can't seem to find a way around that. We seem to not really have a clue what we're doing when we're playing 2 games a week. And I think it's on Conte to find solutions, to change up the system, to maybe go to 4 at the back, go to 5-3-2, do something to change things. But at the moment, we're playing the same system, same tactics every single week. And it's so easy for the opposition to read us and know what to do when they play against us. And we're seeing that week in, week out now.
Yeah, his lack of imagination was disappointing yesterday, I have to say. When it wasn't working, I know there's not too many options on the bench, but he didn't change the system at all. He kind of stayed with his rigid system. He did try a few things, like put Perisic in the front 3, and he eventually played, Kane brought on some midfielders, but the game was up by then. I think he was already looking ahead to Palace at that point, which is also disappointing. Pretty much gave up within the first.
He does that, though, Conte, quite a few times.
But he does it, but as well, it's like, do you blame him? You know what I mean? It's like he has other games to think about. This game is pretty much done, and with how thin our squad is, he does have to pick and choose.
Yeah, but you know, at 2-0, you can still get back into the game. I mean, we scored 2 goals in the last 10 minutes against Leeds. We scored 2 goals in the last 10 minutes against Leicester.
I don't think giving up too early is a criticism you can give this Conte team.
not this Conte team, but in certain games that Conte does give up a bit too early sometimes.
Because in those games it really is done. Because you got to think about how many times we do come back late under Conte, and if he's giving up early in those times, the game is usually when we have a game very soon coming up, and this game really is finished. So I think for me, I wouldn't throw that criticism at Conte, but I mean at this Conte side, but. It was disappointing to see nonetheless, and his lack of ability to change the game and influence it also was really, really poor.
All right. So there you have it. That is our player ratings for the 2-0 loss against Aston Villa yesterday at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let me know what you think of our ratings. Let me know your ratings in the comment section below. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.